What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Dinner Reads Comics. Today we're going to do a review of the Autumnal. I don't know if it's pronounced the Autumnal or the... how did I say it last time? Autumnal? The Autumnal? The Autumnal? I don't know how to say it because I know it's autumn, but with the N-A-L at the end, it messes me up so bad. Anyway, guys, the Autumnal, if that's how you say it, trade paperback. I didn't find any hardcovers of this. I think there is single issues of this, but that's it. Single issues and this trade paperback. Before we go any further, though, I do want to give a shout out to my new subscriber. I think I butchered his name last time, and that's not right for me to do. So, I want to give a shout out to London Lemons, new subscriber. Like I said, all new subscribers that I can see their names, I will give a shout out to them. And because I butchered his name last time and that was not right for me to do, I wanted to make things right. So shout out to London Lemons again. Thank you very much for the subscription. And I hope you enjoyed the reviews, previews, and things like that. Now, with that being said, guys, like I said, the Autumnal, it does have 232 pages and collects issues 1 through 8. There you go. Trade paperback. It is published by Vault. I don't know if it's Vault Comics, Vault Books, Vault, or I don't know. It just says Vault. And then let's see here. Oh, here we go. It is written by Daniel Kraus, artist Chris Shehan, colorist is Jason Wordy, and lettered by Jim Campbell. Now, this book is actually very, very, how do I say it? It's very unique in the sense that when I first got into it and I saw this picture and I read the back of it, I did not know I was going to read what I was going to be reading. It's almost like a murder mystery whodunit, but with the town. If you guys ever seen the movie of It by Stephen King and then the remake of it, it's almost like people go to Derry and they know certain things happen, but they don't say anything about it. The same thing happens with this one. So it's such a weird thing because what I mean by it was so weird to me is we get introduced to the main characters, but then something happens where the main characters have to leave where they're at and go to another place. Once they get there, you kind of start assuming a little bit that the who done it was the mother, and it wasn't like that. It was completely crazy. I was like, what? So I actually like this book enough to the point where I almost want to give it a second read, but I don't know if it really enthralled me to the point where I was like, oh my God. So we'll talk about that here, on the last segment, but let's go ahead and crack this open, flip through the pages so you guys can see the artwork, see what you guys think. I'll talk about the plot a little bit, which I kind of did already, but let's go from there. Alrighty, guys. So here we are with the Autumnal trade paperback. One thing I don't like about trade paperbacks is when you're reading them, I've read through it once, and look, it stands up a little bit, the front cover. And I mean, the only way to kind of rectify that is you kind of have to put it on its back for a while, and it fixes it. So anyway, the Autumnal. I don't know how you guys want to pronounce it, but let's go ahead and start flipping through it. So this one doesn't really have an end page like most of them do. I don't know if trade paperbacks have end pages, or if it's just hardcovers or things like that. So that's one thing that I did not know. So this right here, it says Vault. You got all the... Give me 1 second, I'm gonna sneeze. Excuse me, guys. I apologize. You got like the publishers and things like that, like the main people at Vault right here. And then the next page is the credits where you got the writer, the artist, the colorist, and the letterer. And then you got the title page. Vault presents the Autumnal. I don't know how you guys want to pronounce it. From now on, I'm just going to say the Autumnal. That's how I always say it. So chapter 1. We get introduced to a character right here. We don't really know her name, but she's getting dropped off by a cab, walking into a school. Now, we don't really know it's a school until we see right here, Robert. You can't even really say it, but it says Element. And at first I was like, is it what? is like element something. And then right here, once it says principal's office, I figured it's the elementary school. And yeah, sure enough, she's walking into the principal's office. We get introduced to another character, this little girl. Her name is Sybil, and it's this girl's mother. Her name is Kat Somerville, and she gets called to the principal's office because somebody was bullying Sybil, and Sybil stood up for herself and punched the kid. This right here is kind of weird because it says Stephen King, The Eyes of the Dragon. Kat has a book for Sybil. So when she walks into the principal's office, they kind of talk about back and forth about the fight and how she has kind of a medical diagnosis of, they call it explosion, Mistress Explosion Destroyer, and it's actually it's actually called intermediate explosive disorder. So when she gets angry, she just snaps. And so we get introduced, like I said, to Kat and Sybil, and they're in the principal's office. They talk a little bit, and they eventually Kat snaps on the principal. And from one, this is kind of weird right here because it says, they're kind of talking right here. Earlier, it kind of shows the day that Kat's having. She's not really having a good day. In a nutshell, guys, I don't want to say this, but she's not really a good mom. She punches a glass or a mirror. She gets bloody knuckles. That's how come her hand over here, you can kind of see where right here is all bandaged up. And then she had a fight with somebody and she got punched in the eye. And that's how come she shows up like that. So it's during that time where she gets a phone call that something happened to her mom. And she's like, oh, I don't really care. And then they finally tell her that her mom died. And she's like, oh, wait, well, you know what? We weren't that close. But her mom left her house. So she has to go and kind of get the keys from the house. So because of that, she kind of packs up everything. And when she goes and sees the principal and they leave the principal, Sybil's like, why are our stuff in this cab? Well, they got on the bus. They're living in Chicago. And they're kind of talking back and forth a little bit. We get to know them a little bit more. And it seems like it's a long bus ride because here it's kind of getting dark already. It's like the evening. And right here it's morning already. And they end up going to Comfort Notch. And it just says Comfort Notch. I think it's in Maine, but I'm not too sure exactly where. It just says Comfort Notch. So once they get there, Sybil absolutely enjoys the trees, the leaves and everything. And she picks up a leaf, but randomly some guy that's raking stops her and is like, hey, you can't touch that leaf. And they're kind of like looking at each other like, what's going on here? And so he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to startle you guys. You guys can't just touch the leaf. You guys must be new here, things like that. And it kind of leaves it at that, enjoy the rest of your day type of thing. So they kind of keep walking through the city a little bit. Kat asks where the funeral home is, and they go and see Kat's mom. She has a closed casket. Before she walks in, though, in the funeral home, she lets Sybil go and play with the kids around. I don't even know. It's kind of weird. Like, why are kids outside of the funeral home just playing like it's nothing? It's kind of weird, but Kat lets Sybil play with them for a little bit. They start singing the rhyme, and that rhyme kind of tells a story, which is kind of nice, actually, because it plays in later on. Finally, they go into the funeral home, and they talk to the person that's in charge. And there was nobody there. Nobody went to go see the mom. It was just Kat Somerville and Sybil Somerville. And it was supposed to be an open casket, but it's not for a specific reason. So Kat starts kind of talking to her mom a little bit through the casket. And when she kind of leaves, when Sybil leaves, Kat opens the casket and sees something, closes it. And the person at the funeral home is like, you didn't see anything, right? It was just flowers and things like that. But she did see something. The mom was like all in leaves and things like that. So that was chapter 1, guys. It was kind of nice. Like a girl going to Comfort Notch. Like it reminded me so much of Derry. And it reminded me of Derry from the movie It. Now in chapter 2, it kind of, It's pretty much a continuation from the last chapter. Like as soon as they left, it's getting dark. They're kind of they were playing in a park somewhere, but because Kat didn't she spent all her money on bus tickets to get here, she has no money for a motel room. So they end up trying to they eventually find a bench, a park bench, where they're going to spend the night. Randomly though, and this is kind of weird because like this is when Kat's like, man, what kind of mom am I? This is child abuse. Like, how am I gonna have my daughter out here? But randomly, when they're kind of getting comfortable on the bench, some guy comes up and is like, hey, by the way, and she pulls out a knife, all scared and everything. He's like, hey, I noticed you guys were out here. I'm having car troubles with my piece of junk car. I don't even want it anymore. I'm just gonna leave it. My buddy's gonna give me a ride. If you want it, you can have it. And he just pretty much gives her the keys to the car, like nothing. And I kind of thought that was weird, and it didn't really come into play later on. He was literally just being a nice guy, but later on you find out that people around this area are rich for a reason. And so eventually he like I said, he just gives her the keys to his car, a junk heap, and Sybil and Kat end up sleeping in the car. The next morning, they go to the funeral, the actual not the funeral home, but the funeral of Kat's mom. Nobody really shows up. It's just the father or the Reverend and Kat and Sybil, and they see some guy, pretty much raking leaves. You see that a lot, and so they see kind of a memorial here with people that have passed away, and they kind of start seeing names, or Kat sees names here, but they don't. What she doesn't know what it's from, what it's for, and she tries to ask the guy that's raking leaves, but he doesn't really say anything. So anyway, now that she has the keys to the car, which is nice, she eventually, or she has the keys to the car and she has the keys to the house. They drive to the house. What's weird is once she gets to the house and opens it, she's like, hello, and the daughter's like, there's nobody here, there's nobody supposed to be here, it's empty. But there is two people here. There's two people there that were supposedly taking a break from raking leaves outside. They went in for a glass of water, and Kat pretty much kicks them out. She's like, I don't need your guys' help, with anything. I can do it myself. So eventually, when she does say that, or she goes through the house at first, she starts going through the house, and she starts having flashbacks. Now, here's the thing. Kat used to live in Comfort Notch up until she was 9 years old, and then she got sent away. The mom sent her away, and she doesn't know why. She ever since that happened, she's had this grudge against her mom for doing that, thinking that her mom hated her and things like that. So when she's kind of going through the house, she's looking at all these memories, and she starts hating it. Even though they're nice memories, she ends up going outside, gets a rake, and starts raking leaves. And then eventually she tells her daughter Sybil, why don't you go and jump in those leaves and just act like a girl? And some boys they're like twins. By the way, they're twins. I don't really want to say names because a lot of these names. But anyway, she raked up leaves. She's telling Sybil to jump in the leaves, and some boys come, and some twin boys come, and they see it, and they're like, you're not supposed to do that. And she's like, hey, I'm a grown up. I'm telling you, it's fun. They do it, and they all have fun. But the boy's mom comes and stops the boys, and I don't know if she slaps or punches Kat. And that's where chapter 2 ended. I was like, okay, wow. Now, I'm not going to go over every single chapter. I do want to say, I'll go into a little bit more of the plot. But I think I'm going to start around chapter 5-ish, where I stop really talking about it. I think I'm going to talk about chapter 3 and chapter 4, and that's about it. So, eventually here, Kat sends Sybil to school. She's, meeting new friends. And Kat's pretty much trying to get some work where she's working. She has a few different jobs. She's she's partaking in the community stuff, and she wants to make things right with the neighbor because that's the neighborly thing to do. And she noticed that her neighbor across the street is the guy that gave her the car, so the wife's not too happy about that. And so she's kind of not liking everything, kind of thinking about her mom, thinking about everything. So she goes on a road trip to a smaller city. It doesn't really say where, but it's either Rochester, Concord, Portland. It doesn't really say. Where she ends up at a bar first. At the bar, in the back of her neck, her ex-husband/boyfriend, Sybil's dad, his name is Rich. So this guy comes up to her and is like, hey, you're rich and this and this and that. He's trying to get into her pants. He grabs her butt, and she grabs a glass of beer and pretty much hits him in the head with it. She gets kicked out of the bar, and eventually she ends up at a tattoo shop where she starts talking to this guy, very nice guy, about removing that tattoo in the back of her neck, Rich. And he's like, you know what, it's going to take several appointments, but we'll do it. I don't even know if it's a tattoo shop, because it's called The Regret Artist, Tattoo Removal, but he has tattoos, so is he a tattoo artist, or is he a tattoo removal? I don't know, it's kind of weird. Anyway, so she meets up with him. She kind of vents to him a lot about everything here, and he's pretty much like a shoulder to cry on type of guy. He's just listening, kind of gives a little bit of feedback, but they get a little bit close here. Like, she finally found somebody that she can kind of have a conversation with. So anyway, later on, she's at the house already. She's still kind of unpacking, and Sybil comes home. From school. She tells her that she drew a painting or a drawing of Lady Clementine. And at this point, this is where Kat starts to remember a lot of stuff when she was younger. And she crushes up the drawing. And Sybil's all upset because she wanted to give it to the neighbors, the ones across the street with the twin boys. But at that point, she's like, why? And she's like, well, because the husband died. And she's like, what? And yeah, sure enough, the husband that was leaving that morning, the one that gave Kat a car, he passed away earlier that day. How did he pass away? Supposedly, he suffocated from leaves, which is kind of weird. And the mom kind of pretty much blames Kat for coming into town. So eventually, later on, they go back at the house. Kat and Sybil go into the basement where they find this kind of locked box. And in that locked box, there's a bunch of photos. And a whole bunch of photos about Kat growing up. And then they find another one with a whole bunch of pictures that Kat's not in, because supposedly Kat's mom was a photographer. She was like a journalist. And a whole bunch of horrific things she was taking pictures of. And one of them, we eventually find out that there was a lady in one of the pictures in the background. And it's this right here. It's almost like I said, in the movie It, when there's pictures and stuff, you see the picture of the clown in the background all the time. Well, this is it right here. When something catastrophic happens, this image appears of a lady. So now, when that happens, we move on to chapter 4. She starts digging into the disaster that happened, comes up with a few names. Here's the thing, though. When this happens and she's at the librarian doesn't like that she's digging too much into the past of Comfort Notch. So she causes a scene, but she eventually ends up taking pictures with her phone and comes up with 3 names. With those 3 of the survivors of the big fire that happened, she eventually gets kicked out of the library and goes and talks to 2 individuals where there were kids, didn't remember much. But eventually she meets up with another person. And that person has really bad burn marks on her body. But she was the same age as Kat. No, she is the same age as Kat because they were in the same school when she was, in 5th grade. And she kind of breaks down everything. She lives in a trailer. People don't like her living in a trailer because this is supposed to be a nice paradise with rich people and things like that. And she's not like that. She's a heroin addict. People don't like her. And then she's like, well, what happened at that place, that caught fire? It explains that. And then she finally asked a question about Clementine Biddle. And this is where it goes into the background of that Clementine person ghost thing I was telling you about. Who she was, a beautiful lady at the time. She got with the mayor's son. They ended up having sex. She got pregnant. He didn't like it. He tried to take her to an abortion place. She didn't want that. She ran away and lived in the woods. While she was living in the woods, she gave birth while in the woods. When that happened, she thought that was going to change the mayor's son's mind, I guess. So when she went to go see him again, he did some crazy stuff where he fed the. This is going to sound really grotesque and bad. I'm sorry, but he fed the baby to a pig. And then it was kind of weird. And so when that happened, she goes and kills the son, the mayor's son. And the mayor actually saw it, so she ends up killing the mayor as well. And so she gets ran out of, well, she runs away. People want to find her, but not to bring her down, but to exile her. And so she's in the woods and she's carrying her baby, but it's not her baby anymore. It's parts of her baby, like her dismembered baby. And that's when she realizes she's never going to have, she starts seeing a family, things what she could have, but she's never going to have again. And that's pretty much when she gives her life to the forest, because the forest took care of her, when she was pregnant and things like that. So she gave her life to the forest, became part of the forest. Now that's the lore and the story behind it. Whether it's true or not, who knows? So what happens is every once in a while she'll go and choose a random baby, and if those people don't offer the baby for sacrifice, she goes and causes a huge catastrophic thing where it kills a lot of people. And now this person is telling Kat all this story, and she remembers it, and then she goes and tells the tattoo remover. His name is Rob, by the way. And while she's getting her tattoo removed, she's telling him all this, and they get really, really close right here to the point where they end up together. They kind of start messing around. Now it goes a little deeper than that. I don't want to go past this anymore because certain things start happening here. I kind of wanted to give the opening part of it, but not the last part. I'll kind of flip through it a little bit, but I don't want to give much about it, though. I don't want to say whether she ends up with Rob or not, if something happens to him or not. Anything about Carol, the lady that was telling her everything. I don't want to, give spoilers as to what happens to her, if anything happens to her, if she goes after Lady Clementine in the woods, nothing like that. I don't want to give any more spoilers of it away. But yeah, some crazy things happened in this, a lot of twists and turns. It was a very nice, interesting story. I actually enjoyed it very, very much, and I enjoyed it actually to the point where I didn't see a lot of it coming. Like, there was a lot of twists and turns. Like, honestly, I thought it was the mom that she maybe faked her death and she was the killer. No, I was completely wrong with all that stuff. And so, yeah, certain things happen, and there is a nice ending at the end. I'll give it that. So I'm going to kind of flip towards the end of it a little bit. There is a nice little ending at the end. And I'm like I said, I don't want to say if it's Kat, if it's anybody, what happens to a lot of people. I don't want to give all that spoilers away. So it's a nice little ending. Now here's the art of the Autumnal. I think this is just like variant cover art, because you didn't really see the cover arts for the chapters. Did I really? Wow, hold on. Yeah, see, you don't see the cover art for them, so it gives it to you right here. You got issue 1, issue 2, issue 3, 4. These are beautiful, by the way. 5, 6, 7, and then 8. And then kind of like the issue 1, I don't even know what to call this. It's kind of like an interlocking covers. That's what they call it. And then that's it. There's no read this, read that, nothing. It's not even like an end page. It's just the end. So, yeah. Alrighty, guys. Let's go ahead and do the rating for this and see what you guys think. Alrighty, guys. So before we do a quick rating for this, let's do a quick recap of it. This is the Autumnal, the Autumnal. I don't even know how to say it. The Autumnal. It is published by Vault. I know I didn't do this earlier. I always forget to do it, but because it is trade paperback, it does have glued binding. It does have 232 pages and collects issues 1 through 8. Very interesting story. I do recommend you guys read it, but in all honesty, if I'm giving it a rating, I'm going to give it a rating of a 3. I like the art. I like the story. It was a horror murder mystery type of thing, but it kind of turned into something supernatural, paranormal. And I was okay with it. It wasn't too heavy-ish, Like I said, it reminded me a lot of the It movie a lot. And so because of that, like I said, I did enjoy the story a lot. I do recommend you guys read it, but I'm giving it a 3. And it's not really like a high 3, it's a low 3. To the point where, oh man, if I had enough space for all the books that I'm collecting and reading, I'd probably keep this and give it one more read. but it didn't pull me in as much to be like, oh, I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the art. I enjoyed the story. But it's like I couldn't really. What's that word I'm looking for? I didn't really reminisce. Connect. I couldn't really connect with any characters. Like I didn't see any building with them. It was just personal building, like they didn't have any character development, nothing like that. So I couldn't really connect with any character. It's just things happened a little bit too quickly. The story was a little bit too short. So personally, like I said, I enjoyed this story, but I'm gonna give it a 3. But I'm gonna end up getting rid of the book. Now, if I end up wanting to read this again, I'll probably read it online somewhere, find it and read it online. Because nowadays you can pretty much find anything online. But I do recommend you guys read it though. Still, whether you guys want to pick up the trade paperbacks, the single issue, or read it online, I do recommend you guys read it. I really do. But it's not one where I say go out there and spend money on it, because it's a very, very interesting story. So I'm gonna leave that, guys, on you. So that being said, guys, like I said, that's my rating for this. I hope you guys liked the review. If you guys did, leave a like. In the comments down below, let me know if you guys read this and if you guys enjoyed it. If you guys didn't, what you guys didn't enjoy about it, what you guys enjoyed about it. Please try not to give too many spoilers. I know I probably did already too much, so try not to give too many spoilers for people that haven't read it. If you guys know some other interesting stories by Vault, let me know in the comments also. I kind of want to dig into a little bit more of it. I enjoyed the story, so I might, dig into more things to see if something else catches my eye. That being said, guys, if you guys haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel. Shout out to everybody that's been liking, watching, subscribing, and commenting on my videos. I appreciate it deep down from the bottom of my heart. I really do. Thank you very much for doing that. Shout out to everybody that's supporting my channel. Like I said, shout out again to London Lemon for being a new subscriber. Got to give him another one, especially for butchering. Another shout out, especially for butchering his name. So all that being said, guys, take care, stay healthy, and we'll see you guys on the next one.